Yes, welcome into Sports Bet 2.0. Pauly and Teddy, betting insight today on SBRpicks.com. It's Wednesday, March 28th, part 2 with Rob Veno. We'll get to that coming up today. Also, we have MLB props from William Hill. We preview Cubs and Marlins opening day, and we'll get to the game on ESPN coming up tonight. The Celtics hit the road again, finish off the road trip against the Jazz, and play of the day, and we turn on the shot clock before we get out of here. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. Theodore, Sacramento from 1 up to 2.5, and the over 201.5 to 205. No good all the way around. Mavs get the win, and no home court advantage to speak of. Second time in 6 days they locked down the arena because of the protests in Sacramento.
Yeah, I mean, the line move to me was absolutely baffling on this ball game, Pauly. Sacramento taking heavy money, over taking heavy. Some of the markets were betting on the Kings to score. Kings can't score. They certainly couldn't last night, and as you mentioned, the lack of crowd. Maybe they were thinking that, but the protests weren't actually supposed to be in the arena last night. They just ended up there after they were denied entrance. I think it was City Hall or something like that. They went and protested down in the arena, so it wasn't something that was necessarily handicapable prior to tip-off. Bottom line is, bettors got the side wrong, bettors got the total wrong. That, a good result for the house and a bad result for the play.
All right, bad for the books. Look at this landing spot. Nuggets Raptors under 227 to 223. Raptors led by 10, 50 seconds left. Nuggets hit a 3. They get a stop, hit another 3. Then the free throws began, so bad landing spot in the Heat. That is 14 in a row. Miami at home against the Cavs from 4 or 3.5 down to 1.5. They're up 20 at halftime, and Dragic had 2 points. They run them out.
Yeah, they sure did. Let's start with the middle, with the Nuggets and Raptors. As you mentioned, Toronto in position to cover in the final minute. You can call, I don't know if it's a bad beat. Certainly the Raptors weren't the right side in that ballgame, but three-pointers in the final minute for Denver has that game landing right in the middle. All the under money cashed, 227, 226, 225. And then, of course, when it lands 224, the over bettors who cashed at 223, who were trying to get both sides, got there as well. So that a particularly bad spot for the game to land for the books. They lost both ways. And, of course, you talked about Miami. Miami took a bunch of money last night against Cleveland. What? Kevin Love lasted 7 minutes in that ballgame. LeBron, 7 of 18 with 6 turnovers. Pretty close to a no-show for the Cavs. Miami gets the win. Miami gets the cover. Miami took the money. That's certainly not a good result for the books.
And not much the books can do here. No Green. Kerr said, why would I even bother to play him? Durant's supposed to come back Thursday. Pacers on the road from 5 up to 8. I saw as low as 4. The total, 203.5 down to 200. Warriors led by 9 at the half, but an 11-point fourth quarter by the Warriors did them in. Pacers with a double-digit win on the road.
Yeah, I'm kicking myself for this one. I should have had Indiana last night. I got scared off the spot and the line move and all of that. But Golden State, there's only one thing to do with the Warriors right now. That's bet against them. The market's well aware of that. Pacers took a ton of money. Under took a ton of money. Both of those cash with ease. The spot was brutal for Indiana. They just clinched a playoff spot. They're going on the road, laying a big price against a team that's not the team they thought they were going to face. Didn't matter. The Warriors now 3-10 against the spread their last 13 games. Yeah. Markets well aware of how bad Golden State has been and what they are right now, and there may well continue to be good prices to bet against the Warriors between now and the end of the regular season, perhaps even into the postseason, Pauly.
Yeah, man, you could be right about that. All right, baseball is here, opening day tomorrow. How about some props from William Hill? There's some good stuff here we can kick around. Player, well, a player hit 4 home runs in a game. Yes, plus 450. It happened twice last year. Scooter Gennett did it, and J.D. Martinez. I think Martinez did it hit a home run in 4 straight plate appearances against the Dodgers. I mean, there was that long stretch where it didn't happen. You had the Cameron game, Mark Whitten, Sean Green. So, for a long time, it didn't happen. Then we had it twice last year. Wins by a pitcher, 19.5 over minus $2, Teddy. I just don't think guys get enough starts now. It's hard to do.
Sure. I mean, I could only you have to think someone's going to win 20 games, but that's what they're relying on with the over minus $2. That's not a prop I'm particularly interested. What about the perfect game prop? Yes.
Yeah.
4-1 on a perfect game. I'm willing to bet the no again, but you have to lay minus $6 and leave it in the sports book all year. That being said, the odds of a perfect game are not 4-1 this season. I like the losing and winning streaks. That one was interesting to me.
Yep.
11.5 for both of those, Pauly, with over -140 and -160 on the longest losing and winning streaks of the season.
Dodgers did both last year in an amazing season, right? They won 104 games. They lost 11 in a row down the stretch, and they won 11 in a row. And they had that streak where they won it was like 30 at 34. They won. It was ridiculous. Cleveland won 22 in a row, and Houston won 11 in a row. All of that last year, some stuff to keep track of. How about losses? Will a team lose 100 games? Yes, -165. And will a team win 100 games? Yes, -220. 3 teams won 100 games last year.
Sure, and there's a legitimate difference between the haves and the have-nots coming into the season. You can look, much like the NBA, coming into the campaign. On day one, a third of the league isn't in contention. And that's the case for MLB. When you're talking about serious World Series contenders, what do we got? About 6, 8, maybe 10 at the most.
Yeah.
So we would anticipate there's going to be some really good teams and some really bad teams. I'd be more inclined to bet the yes on the over 100 losses or over 100 wins than it would be with a lot of these props, Pauly.
Rapid fire with some of these. These are unique. Most home runs, 50.5. Most RBIs, 130.5. How many times will Judge and Stanton go back to back? That goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then it's like 9 or more is part of the field. You can go 9 or more, to bet that as well. Combined home runs, Judge and Stanton, 115.5. Just for shits and giggles, they put that up under -$9. Take back 6-1. So there's someone's going to get hurt. There's no way that's going to happen. But they threw that up there at 115.5 with Judge and Stanton as the evil empire is back in New York.
They sure are. The evil empire getting a lot of buzz, both here in Vegas and around the MLB world. But remember, these props essentially go off the board tomorrow. You've got 24 hours to get involved or less from when we record to get involved with these numbers. So we wanted to give you at least some opportunity to take a look at our thought process on some of the props for MLB to give you an idea if you're looking to make your own wagers. I haven't bet a whole lot of these, Pauly, but like I said, the losing and winning streaks to me seem to be maybe the weak spot on the board if you're looking to bet some overs.
All right, up next, big game breakdown. We'll get to the game on ESPN, a good one, the Celtics and the Jazz, and then opening day with the Cubs. And they're supposed to lose 100 games, speaking of that prop, with the Marlins on SportsBit 2.0. Betting insight today on SBRpicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
Back on SportsBit, betting insight today. Follow us on Twitter. I'm at RealSportsBit. He's at Teddy_Covers. We are back and better than ever the third week with SportsBit 2.0. Tell your friends. Thanks to Intertop Sportsbook, 22 years online. Sign up, deposit, and win. ESPN tonight, Jazz at home against the Celtics. Jazz up to 7.5 now in some spots. 194 the total, and you've seen some 193.5s out there as well. Boston essentially locked into the 2. Who knows when Kyrie's coming back? In the West, the Pelicans are 43-32. So are the Spurs. Utah's 42-32. They're the 7, and Minnesota's 42-33. So a lot to play for. You saw Aldridge left with an injury last night, and the Pelicans have to deal with a tough schedule and no Cousins. Plus, they had 5 games in 6 days last week. Definitely the 5 seed is in play here. Oh, hell, even the 4 seed for Utah, if they can close strong. Good spot here for the Jazz, and it's been two good defensive teams. Well, I think it's an underplay. Since January 19th, when Gobert came back, Utah #1 in defense, and we know the Celtics have been there all season long, Teddy.
Yeah, they sure have. And when you look at this graphic, it's very clear. Utah's not just #1 in defense. They're #1 in defense by a wide margin, more than 5 points per 100 possessions. Better than the #2 team in the league, who's Philadelphia, by the way. And look at Houston at #3 during that span. And, of course, the Jazz, they don't consider it coincidence that they've held opponents to 33% from beyond the arc since Gobert returned. That's the second lowest in the league during that span. And they've allowed the 3rd fewest three-point attempts per game during that span as well. Jay Crowder's quote, "When you know you've got a shot blocker to protect the rim, it gives you the opportunity to do a lot of different things on the perimeter. That's what we do. As a defensive unit, we switch it up on the perimeter because we know we have the big fella behind us." Utah's defense is downright scary, And the fact that the Jazz have something to play for here, while Boston, look, they've had a good road trip, but this is not a must-win spot for the Celtics. You can certainly understand why the point spread is where it is and why we've continued to see Utah money with this line opening 7, now up to 7.5, some 8s popping up. And, of course, the Jazz also got a guy, Donovan Mitchell, who's been a monster. I understand Ben Simmons is likely to win Rookie of the Year. I don't buy it. Donovan Mitchell has been more important to his team than Ben Simmons. You don't buy it. I'm not buying it. 6 straight games at 21 points per game or more.
That's a triple-double every night, Eddie.
Think about where Philly's going to be without Simmons. Think about where Utah's going to be without Mitchell. Utah loses 20 games more without Mitchell. 20 games, Pauly. Not even close. Philly's still a contender without Simmons. Period. That's what I make my vote on, is which team is worse without the guy.
You're comparing the East to the West, too. But Simmons puts up a triple-double every night. In any event, he's been terrific. 23 points per game in March. And you get Exum back, who missed the first 68 games, played in the last 6. He had 13 and 5 against Golden State. Gobert on Exum, quote, he's getting his confidence back, attacking the rim, making plays. It's what we want from him. He's a smart guy. He played hard on defense, and I know it's not been easy for him, but he's been great, end quote there. Boston, 3-0 on the road trip without Kyrie and Smart. Morris is questionable. While you're seeing movement, I don't think Morris is going to play. And Rozier, last 7 games, has been playing well and helping out. Tatum is averaging 16 and 6 in March, and Rozier's scoring 18 points per game in the last 7. So Brad Stevens is the man. He's doing a great job, but who knows what's going to happen with Kyrie. And I talked to a bookmaker who made the Celtics only a 220 favor over Miami in the first round if Kyrie isn't there. So that's something to consider if that's the 2-7 matchup. But Rozier's three-point shooting, look at this, up, 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 and up. 22.2 and 16, 33.8, and then 38.9 this year. Terrific. And here's Rozier, quote, "Now that I'm in my 3rd year, I told myself to be more poised and pay attention to details, going into the game and slowing my mind down. When everything's slow, you're going at your pace. It's perfect. A lot of older guys tell me to slow down. When you're going too fast, you can't see everything that's happening." He's been great, no doubt about it. And remember, before that loss against Atlanta, I think they had won 21-23 or something like that. So they've been on a roll.
Sure. I mean, the Celtics have been monsters, but I worry about this spot for Boston. Again, it's a much more meaningful game for Utah. The Celtics, 3-0 on this trip already without Kyrie and Smart. Morris, very, very questionable tonight. As you mentioned, the line move indicates it doesn't look like he's going to be able to play. And for all that Terry Rozier has done over the last 7 games, he's terrific for a guy that's 6'2". He rebounds really well. The assist-to-turnover ratio is there. Utah's defense is a different animal. Agree with the move to the under. Agree with the move towards the Jazz in this one.
All right, concur. And I was talking about Utah with the 21 out of 23 and not Boston. All right, opening day, Thursday, ESPN, 12:40 Eastern, Cubs and Marlins, Leicester against Urania. Cubs at 195, no total. They lose Stanton, they lose Gordon, they use Yelich. The fans are pissed off at management and ownership, and they're pissed off at Jeter. They didn't bring anything in. It's going to be bad. And your opening day starter, he was 4-9 with a 6.13 in 2016, but the kid has good stuff, 14-7 with a 3.82 last year. So a turnaround for Urania. Are you buying it here? Are you buying the numbers?
Of course not, Paul. It's fun to talk about the Miami Marlins going into opening day because guess what? Opening day is when Miami's season ends. Their hope springs eternal in spring training. As of day 1, this team's going to start getting whacked. You cannot replace Giancarlo Stanton, D. Gordon, and Christian Yelich without adding anything. When you're talking about Urena as your opening day starter, flash that graphic again with Urena's numbers. 4-9 in 2016 with a 6.13 ERA. Last year he won 14 games, right? Well, you look at the numbers. Look at the turnaround. No way. The advanced metric numbers. Fielding and independent pitching, worse last year. Strikeouts per 9, worse last year. Walks per 9, worse last year. Ground ball rate, lower last year. Home run rate, exactly the same. So when you have fewer strikeouts, more walks, fewer ground balls, and the same home run rate, how on earth does your win-loss and ERA change so much? Real simple. One more graphic to show you. Look at the BABIP. Batting average on balls in play. Jose Urena in 2016, 297. That's normal. 2017, well, opponents smacked the ball. They hit it right at someone. He had hot dice. 75 pitchers threw at least 150 innings last year. Only 5 had a lower BABIP than Urena. He is primed, Pauly, primed for regression from day one this season. And look at the tweet from Fish Stripes, at Fish Stripes. For those of you with strong feelings about the opening day rotation, keep in mind that this team could wind up using 15-plus different starters this season. Don't get too attached to any one guy. Miami's going to be trading guys. They're going to be dumping payroll. They're going to be bringing guys up from the minors. This is a bad baseball team. Cubs merit the price on opening day.
All right. Then you got Lester now getting up there at age, 34 years old. He had 9 straight seasons of 190 innings or more going into last year. And look what happened. Career high in ERA. He had a ERA of over 4. It was the second worst. His walks per 9, highest since 2001. And home run fly ball rate, career high as well. And now Wade Davis, who was nails as their closer, is gone. And Morrow from the Dodgers is going to be their closer. I don't know if he's ready. And you got the Cubs offense too, which was so at times last year. But one thing how about Schwarber losing all that weight? That doesn't look like the same guy. Will that take away from his power though too? The kid's been stealing bases though, so Madden likes that.
All right, so we have Lester, someone who we can expect regression from. We saw regression last year. Again, 180 regular season innings last year. This is a 34-year-old pitcher with a ton of mileage on his arm. All of his numbers are bad from a year ago, and we can expect that to continue. I don't know if that's going to happen on opening day, though. You talk about Brandon Morrow. I'm a Brandon Morrow believer. This guy's got filthy stuff. Last year with the Dodgers, fielding and independent pitching 1.55. I only understand he only threw 43.2 innings, but this is a guy who I would expect to come in and lock down this closer's job. And you talk about that offense, the batting average isn't there. The OPS is. Chicago's going to hit. Chicago's going to score runs. That's something the Marlins likely to have a very hard time doing.
Excellent. Up next, Rob Veno, part 2. Baseball is here. Did an excellent job yesterday giving out some information and under teams and some over teams. I like what he said about the Brewers as well. Rob Veno, part 2, coming up next on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
Deep dive time here on SportsBit. We got part 2 today. If you missed part 1 from yesterday, check it out at sportsbookreview.com. We have Rob Veno from Rob Veno Sports. And I love to have Rob on, particularly at this time of the year, because number 1, I know he's up to speed on baseball. And number 2, when it comes to personnel, man, this guy knows everybody on every team. I give him a ton of credit. Rob, thanks for coming back for the Wednesday edition. Welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me, Teddy. Glad to be here.
All right, let's talk bullpens. Yesterday we were talking lineups. And, of course, the reason we're focusing now on lineups and bullpens is because when you look at the MLB marketplace circa 2018, starting pitching is king. And there's a million advanced metrics, and you'll see as we cover throughout the course of the season, the baseball campaign, it's going to be one advanced metric after the next when it comes to the starting pitchers. So where do you find the edges when everyone has the same math? Simple. Lineups, bullpens. In my mind, that's where the biggest edges in the marketplace are. Rob, would you agree with me on that? That at this stage of in the world, in the betting markets, the starting pitchers are basically going to be priced correctly. You're going to find your biggest edges when you find lineup and bullpen mismatches.
Yeah, I really started getting into the bullpen aspect of it, Teddy, way back in 1999. Just thought that's where the edge was. That's the way the game was going. And you started to see a lot of leads blown late in games, and you had to go and, chart bullpens. I used to chart pitch counts with bullpens and everything else. Still do. It's a great help in the day-to-day grind that is betting Major League Baseball. So we'll take a look at 3 of them here.
Absolutely. And, of course, when it comes to bullpens and charting bullpens, this is one advantage the professional has over the amateur bettor. When you're trying to do this stuff in your spare time, it's not easy to do. When this is your full-time job, you better darn well know who was in the bullpen last night, who was the night before, how the managers are going to play it out, and who's likely to play that particular evening. When it comes to bet on bullpens this year, there's one that stands out. We'll get to them in a minute. But one that was a surprise to me, Mr. Veno, when you mentioned it. You're telling me the Colorado Rockies have a bet on bullpen this year.
Yeah, they made it a priority in the offseason, Teddy, to try and bolster up that bullpen. We know that Colorado has tried for years and years to solve the pitching mystery that is Coors Field. Now they're trying to do it with a deep bullpen. I think as we talk today, Teddy, two of these that we're going to go over are good teams, perceived to be very good baseball teams. One that I think will be most helped by their bullpen, one that I think will not be helped so much by their bullpen. But I believe Colorado is going to gain a lot of help. The starting pitching staff will be supported by a bullpen that now features a closer in Wade Davis. Talking about a setup rotation of Brian Shaw, who came over from the Indians. Jake McGee, who I've always liked, the lefty who started with Tampa, has tremendous stuff. He's got to stay away from injury, though. That's been his bugaboo throughout his career. And Mike Dunn, another pretty hard thrower with some ground ball tendencies. You add to that Chris Russin, who's picked up his statistical numbers over the last couple of years, and Adam Ottavino. I think that this is a really deep bullpen that if you're looking for 3 innings a game, 4 innings a game, they're going to be able to get it for that Rocky lineup, which is outstanding. The one key to this bullpen, Teddy, that I think will help in Coors Field is that it's a strikeout bullpen now. There's no finesse here. This is predominantly a strikeout bullpen. We're going to look at Colorado to be a team that doesn't blow those late inning leads anymore.
Sure. And when you look at the futures market in the West, the Dodgers are a team that's gotten some love. But certainly the Giants, a team that made some splashy offseason moves. Arizona coming off a big year. Colorado's a little bit of an afterthought with a deep bullpen and a good lineup. They may well be a bet-on team early on in 2018. Here's a squad that's getting a ton of love. Okay, I haven't heard more hype about the Yankees than prior to this season than I have since they were winning World Series titles every year. But the Bronx Bombers have a bullpen worthy of their $200 billion payroll.
Yeah, and I probably should not have even brought this one to your show here, Teddy, because it's painfully obvious that the Yankees right now on paper have the best bullpen in Major League Baseball. It doesn't take any of us experts to tell somebody who's not an expert that, because the non-experts know that already. So just some numbers that make them so dominant, though. This team was number 1 in Ks per 9 innings last year, almost 11 strikeouts every 9 innings. They don't allow home runs. The BABIP was 272 against them. That being batting average from balls in play, that was number 1 in the major leagues, number 1 in WAR, wins above replacement, number 1 in batting average against. I mean, I don't know how you go against these guys. They all throw 100 miles an hour. There's a couple question marks, though, and I want to point these out. Last season, and most of this is Dellin Betances blowing up second half of the year or late second half of the year. Only 36 saves, 23 blown saves. And this bullpen doesn't include a left-handed pitcher. Talking about all right-handers here. So that could be a bit of a deterrent. But how are you going to stop these guys? They all throw, like I say, 96 to 100. You got a team with 4 closers on it, basically. So we'll definitely consider the Yankees. They're going to be overpriced, but certainly that bullpen is well worth it.
But certainly when we talk about the Yankees total-wise, given the strength of that bullpen, even with that lineup, the Yankees don't necessarily look like an over team. This is a team, the next team you want to talk about is a team that I haven't heard a squad with, admittedly, a lot of top prospects and a lot of top prospects that are supposed to be MLB ready in 2018. But the Twins are getting a lot of love. I've seen Minnesota 2, 4, 6. There's only 7 teams ahead of Minnesota in the futures market right now. Twins are getting all kinds of love. Mr. Veno, you say their bullpen is going to cost them games.
Yeah, I think if there's a drawback to this team, Teddy, and again, like you said earlier, when you stated the fact that odds makers don't consider bullpens in the numbers, in the line, I think you could get some advantages going against Minnesota here. Let's just start with what I feel like, and this is personal opinion, the closer situation is going to be a mess. Fernando Rodney was tremendous for Arizona. We don't want to take anything away from him. He's a 41-year-old guy, soon to be 42. But he's coming back to the American League where you pitch against legitimate 9-hitter lineups. And in that division, in that league, just look around that league and look at the lineups. I just don't know that Fernando Rodney is going to be able to handle that. Should he slide out of that closer's role, I think you could legitimately put Addison Reed in there. Addison Reed has had a good past couple of years, and I see no reason why he would slide. But it just affects the depth, a shallow bullpen, so much if Rodney fails. Zach Duke would step up and be a setup guy. That's fine. But beyond that, you're talking about a bullpen with a situational lefty in Hildenberger, a guy who's another left-handed specialist in Taylor Rogers. Not a lot there, Teddy. Some injuries that have hurt this team early on. The loss of Brandon Kinsler. He had 28 of their saves last year before he left for Washington. Matt Belisle stepped in and got 9 more once he left. Boy, I don't know how this is going to play out for Minnesota. No arguments with their lineup. Not a lot of arguments with their starting pitching, which they bolstered, Lance Lynn and company. But this bullpen, I think, makes them overvalued. We'll look against Minnesota in a lot of situations.
And Minnesota, with that potent lineup, may end up being an over team to boot. Rob Veno, great information. I appreciate you sharing with us over the course of the last 2 days here on SportsBit. Why don't you let the folks out there know where they can find you and how they can get a hold of you?
Absolutely. Most common stop is sportsmemo.com. The homepage there, find all daily releases, selection packages, sportsmemo.com. Also, Rob Veno Sports, where you can get some statistical numbers that I don't think you can get anywhere else. We keep a lot of numbers here, obviously, over the years. So check out Rob Veno Sports. And on Twitter, we're at Rob Veno Sports, at Rob Veno Sports. Get all my thoughts on Twitter. As I'm angry during games, as I'm happy during games, you'll know it all as I sit here watching games.
Enjoy the sweat, my friend. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next time right here on SportsBit. Betting Insight today from SBRpicks.com.
Well done, Teddy. Thanks to Rob Veno again, coming on and sharing his baseball knowledge as well, and thanks to Intertops. Let's turn the shot clock on. Let's stick with baseball. Teddy, you start. Biggest underachiever in Major League Baseball this season?
I got to go with the Texas Rangers as my number one fade coming into 2018. I understand the betting market has been all over Texas. They were win totaled, 77.5 at the open. That's down to 76 now. I don't think I'm going to get to 66, Pauly. The Rangers spring training was as demoralizing as any you'll ever see. A team that was in contention and has been in contention appears to be in clear rebuilding mode. I don't like anything for Texas in 2018. The Rangers likely to be the biggest underachiever in all of baseball. A bet against squad right from day one.
All right, very good. I'll go the Twins and the Dodgers both under. The Twins, feel-good story of baseball last year. They got in a play-in game. They went 85 and 77. Now they're at 84. And you might say, wait a second. They fixed the back end of the bullpen, right? Well, Rodney can be a gas can, and the bullpen blew a ton of games last year, but I don't think they can repeat what they did last year with that great story, and now people are coming after them. Twins go under, and I'll take the Dodgers under 60. I saw 96.5 offshore. It's 94.5 here in Vegas. There's talk about maybe they'll limit some of the innings with Kershaw because of the injury concerns. Turner's already out, so I will go. Remember, they had 104 wins last year. Come on, in a tough division. I like what Colorado did in the offseason. Arizona's good as well. I'll go under, depends where you shop, 96.5 or 94.5. Twins and Dodgers both overvalued coming into the season. All right, which takes us to play of the day, Teddy. Right back to the Twins, right?
Absolutely. Okay, this is a Minnesota squad, and I'm reading all this crazy stuff about the Twins. Oh, they got Irvin Santana. Oh, what a great pickup Lance Lynn was. Oh, my God, Addison Reed and Fernando Rodney in that bullpen. No, I'm not buying any of the offseason additions for Minnesota. This was an overachieving team last year, primed to come back to earth. Paul Mahler to get to 85 wins. I'm not buying it this year. Minnesota under 84 wins. That's our play of the day.
And we talked about how many times we talk about Santana's BABIP, right? Just the balls kept finding people, and that's how it worked out. Very good. All right, it's here tomorrow. We'll get into that. Final Four preview. Looking forward to Loyola and Michigan and Kansas and Villanova. All that straight ahead. And, of course, only 2 weeks left in the regular season of the association. We'll talk to you this week, tomorrow, and enjoy the rest of the week. Follow us on Twitter at RealSportsBet and at Tenny_Covers. SportsBet 2.0, betting insight today on SBRpicks.com. Thanks for watching.